Good morning. We're gonna try that again. Because I've had 4 cups of coffee. So we're gonna try that again. Good morning. Yes, it's day 1. And I'm gonna try to maneuver these stairs for the next 3 days without incident. How are y'all feeling this morning? Good. I know it's a little bit early. Some of you may have just traveled in yesterday. Whose first time at Grace Hopper celebration? Yes! Okay, just so you know, my name is Dana Blair. I like to do a lot of the breakout sessions. This is my 3rd Grace Hopper celebration, but I guarantee you this will be your favorite room. All the cool stuff is happening over here. They think they have it on the main stage. They have some things, but this is the cool space. So are y'all ready to get started? Yes. Okay. So coming up in today's first session on day 1, we're excited to hear insights from bold leaders across healthcare, telecom, IT, and semiconductor manufacturing who are pushing for real change. They'll share powerful practical steps their companies are taking to make sure women and non-binary talent can break through those barriers and rise all the way to the top. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Julie Law, Dr. Rashmi Misra, Advish Robinson, and Addie Swartz. Let's give them a big round of applause. Let's welcome them in right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first day of Grace Hopper. I'm Addie Swartz. I am the CEO of reacHIRE, and our company focuses on helping lots of companies worldwide do a better job of growing and developing their tech women and also bringing tech women back into the workforce that have taken some time off. So we're all about building the pipeline, and we're so excited here to talk about how we do a better job of building that pipeline for tomorrow's leaders. So thank you all for coming. Okay, look at my amazing group here today. First, we have Julie Law, Chief People Officer at Rocket Software. Then Rashmi Misra, Chief AI Officer at Analog Devices. And then we have Advish Robinson, a Senior Executive, Strategy and Innovation, and author of the newly published book, Believe It's Possible. And honestly, I can't say anything better than we all are here today to think that everything is possible, and we're gonna make it all possible. So thank you, Advish, and we can't wait to hear a little bit more about that too. Okay, I do want to say that we had one more panelist, the VP of Engineering at Athena Health, and we're really sad that she's not here with us today. So we're sending our good thoughts to her. And I'm going to pepper into the conversation some of her thoughts because I wanted her presence to be felt. And she's sad she's not here. So let's get started and talk a little bit about what the world looks like and how women make it better. So, first of all, we know that inclusive teams are 35% more productive. We also know that diverse teams make better decisions 87% of the time. Companies with gender equity in leadership have 19% higher revenue growth, and all of this is happening while women who make up more than 50% of the workforce, only 26% of all IT workers are women. That's right, only 26% of all IT workers are women. So how is that possible when women make better business and business thrives better with more women? Lastly, I'm sure that you know that it's the 10-year anniversary of the Women in the Workplace report by McKinsey and the Lean In Foundation. And the stat is that for every 100 men that are promoted, only 81 women are promoted. So there is still a significant gap in getting more of our amazing individuals up and through even that first level of manager. And of course, it's been coined the broken rung. So this is a huge problem, and we're here to talk about it. And what I would say, coming from a friend that I met last night, it's not a woman's problem. It's a business problem, and it's a problem that we need to solve, and we need to help each other so that more women and underrepresented groups get up the pipeline, and that's what we're here to talk about. So let's go back to our slide of our panelists and get started. So we're going to go right into it. Question 1, and Rashmi, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first. Why does there continue to be unequal representation and leadership in tech for women?
So I think this is, first of all, I have to thank you. It's quite a privilege to be here with these amazing ladies here as well, and thank you for organizing this and for all of you turning up this morning as well. Look, it's an unfortunate reality that we're still in that place where, we saw on the plenary session yesterday the numbers of just over the 30 years of Grace Hopper conference itself, that the numbers are sadly disappointing, and we're still in that same place, and this conversation is ever more relevant today. Looking at the space that I work in today in terms of AI, it's becoming even more imperative, I would say, than the work that we've done in IT before, that we have that representation, that point of view is there all the way from our conception of our solutions that incorporate this to the sort of design, the system engineering, all the way to the test and validation, and that we make sure that there's equal representation across that space. I am a believer that if you keep doing the same things, you'll probably get the same results. And therefore, I think certainly we've got to be doing something else. And I do think that, yes, it's great that we have professional barriers to why we're still in this space. But we also have personal barriers that we talk about as well. But I think rather than calling them barriers, I'd like to just embrace them and say, actually, that becomes part of us. How do we create workplaces that really foster, embrace those parts and aspects of women and non-binary, and actually say, well, how can we get the advantages through the whole process that I talked about? Certainly in AI, I look at it that way. And how can we get that advantage into that whole end-to-end process of that whole person, an individual?
Really powerful, yeah. Julie, do you have any thoughts to share?
Yeah, I mean, particularly in tech, I think the historical makeup of technology organizations has always been male-dominated. And for a long time, I think people have sort of stared at that same problem. Rashmi, to your point, if you keep on doing the same thing, you're in status quo, nothing's going to ever change and make a difference. So I think, unconscious bias, people often like to be with people that are like them, mini-me. So really, if you just do status quo, it's not enough. And I think that we need to have a call to action at a corporate level to really help drive this systemic change.
Great, great. And what about at Rocket? What do you see at Rocket in relation to this?
Yeah, so at my company, Rocket Software, not Rocket Mortgage, people have asked me that already, we are about 30% representation of women, and we've really worked incredibly hard to get that. We are a mainframe-based organization where historically it was a male-dominated profession, and it's an older technology. So we've really developed and focused strategically to focus on mid and early career women, to partner with reacHIRE and an Aurora program and have interventions specifically to help women develop leadership skills, capabilities, to make sure that they're supported through their life journey, because as you know, women do have life decisions that are different than men, and they might have to take a step outside of the workplace for a period of time. So creating mechanisms to support people, including mentorship and advocacy, but also investing in our women and our leaders with this Aurora reacHIRE program, which we just celebrated 38 graduates in the program, and a lot of them have seen career development, career movement, either laterally or 40% actually of our graduates have moved laterally or gotten promoted subsequent to their graduation. So it's really investing in our women leaders and making them go further and faster, frankly.
So I also think it was interesting that when we were chatting, you mentioned something about a recent acquisition and how, you know, organizations are like amoebas, they're always changing and growing and moving in different directions. And maybe you could just talk for one quick minute about this recent acquisition and what that changed to the makeup of your organization as you're working hard to provide more gender representation and you're thinking you're making movement, but on the other hand, then something else happens.
Yeah, so Rocket's grown a lot through inorganic growth, and you inherit the population of people. We just recently did an acquisition with a carve out of Open Text, and we inherited 750 new employees, of which we became more male and more white, and we've matured as well generationally. So really, like all of that work, we did take a step backwards representation-wise, but the cohort of talent that's coming over is really excited about the values that we're bringing to life on a day-to-day basis, and they are interested in getting as much development as possible, and particularly our women leaders are really happy with the complement of our executive team. We've got our CIO is a Black woman. Our chief legal counsel, our chief legal counsel is female. Our chief marketing officer is female, and our chief revenue officer is also female. So really driving that representation at the C-suite is also a business imperative for us too.
Yeah, we were at a dinner last night, and somebody was saying, "Look at the top, and if the top looks like where you want to be," I think you said that.
I did say it,
who was the brilliant person that said that? That was you, Rashmi.
I'm not sure about the brilliant, but we'll come back to that comment as well. But I mean, look, again, if we do the same things, we'll get the same outcomes. And at Analog Devices, for example, we count. There's a counter that says, okay, where is the representation from the board to the leadership team to our key engineering roles? And whilst we see an increase, there's obviously always more to be done. How can we foster more? How can we make it a more equitable environment by making sure that all genders and people get the same opportunity? How do they actually get visibility to those opportunities? How can we talk to them about those opportunities? How can we even create those opportunities for them? And I think Forbes magazine did say we were one of the women-friendliest places to work in the last couple of years as well. And then the other thing is... The other thing is that we can't do this alone. People, especially for STEM, engineering, they are imprinted long before they come into our pipeline, right? How can we partner with key educational institutions? So we partner with some of the biggest names, certainly MIT, very close to us, and many of the other well-known, and I know you're all equally represented here as well, and so that's nice.
Great. Yes, I think measurement, visibility, having focus on what's important, and then helping each other so you're not going it alone is I think the key message, right? Okay, so how do we fix this problem? There's a lot of problems out there, biases, inequities, acquiring a new company, and then just when you think you're moving towards gender equity, you get a new company in the mix, and then 75% of them are male. Well, that kind of messes up your data. So I'm going to turn to you, Edwige, to talk about how do you fix this problem? I know you have lots of great ideas on this.
Yeah, I wish we had the magic wand and then, wake up in the morning and everything changes. I think one baseline is to recognize the problem exists, like we just talked about. And I love what Julie mentioned earlier. In order for us to change the landscape, we have to change people at the top. Because guess what? People hire people that look like them. People trust people that look like them. So in order for us to have a different landscape, we need to have more representation at the top, to Julie's point, so that you can have different conversation. And then the other thing that we all know and we all wish we had much sooner is mentor and sponsor. But I think we all know about this. The difference I want to share with you today is that you want a visible mentor. So you don't want to go to somebody's office and they're talking to you and nobody knows they're supporting you. because that capital influence is so important. Can you imagine if I know that the CTO trusts you? Or can you imagine if I know that a senior leader trusts you to do something? Automatically, you have some kind of coverage over you. So work with your mentor, work with your sponsor, and then ask them to be visible, to talk about you in room that you are not in yet. I put the word yet. You're going to be in those rooms soon, one day. But you're not in those rooms yet so that they can talk about you and then assign you to different programs, as Rashmi was talking about. And the other thing, we need the support of the organization. We need programs like our program. Obviously, I work with Addie's team. And it's hard. It's so hard to be fighting for equality every day. Every time you turn around, you have to fight for every inch. So it's good to have a support system. You have a boss or somebody that can give you that encouragement and then hang on to that, and then we can talk a little bit more about everything. But I think at the very least, when you go back, if your mentor is in the office that you work in, tell he or she, please let people know that you have me, so that when they go in rooms, they go with you in spirit.
All right, well, thank you. There's a lot of conversation. I'm sure so much of us have read about mentors and sponsors and the importance of finding a sponsor and running around and trying to find who's that person that's going to be my sponsor. And what I really believe is it's really advocates. So advocates are people who not only want to learn about you and listen to you and help you think about your challenges, but also move you further along and create some visibility for you. So think about the word advocate, because I think advocate has this action to it that then is different than just somebody who's supporting you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one more thing really quick before we move on. Learn to get people that don't look like you as advocate, mentor, and sponsor, because usually you want to find another lady or another, somebody that looks like you, but there's only one or two of them. So it's okay. In my career, many white male actually helped me a lot. They spoke, about me in room that they assigned me to projects I didn't even know existed. So it's okay to look for, male. It's okay for you to look for other culture so that you can get that, that different perspective.
Okay, now we're going to turn to Rashmi to talk about what can organizations do to make sure that, there's more representation. I know you have some specific things that you do when you're hiring people, et cetera.
Yeah, so I talked about certainly counting it. If you can't count it, then there isn't a delta, and you can't see whether you're improving or you're going backwards, or whether the measures you have actually even make a difference. I do want to shout out to the, I think almost over 30 analog devices women that are here today.
Woo!
Because, they've stopped their work this week to come and understand, as leaders and advocates in our organization, what else can we do better? How can we increase our network? How can we be there stronger for our own people as well? So I do want to thank them for finding the time as well. There's always stuff to be done, and so certainly in my organization, what I've introduced as we grow our AI team is to just make sure that for all of our senior roles, that we're really opening out the slate in terms of what's the diversity factor in terms of who have we interviewed. Please don't come to me with a request for approval for a slate that wasn't diverse. And then if we're actually looking at something and somebody and saying, well, they just don't have the experience like the other one, I really do want to question that and double click on it. Certainly in my last organization, I didn't take well, they don't have that experience as a reason for not hiring somebody, because not having experience is oftentimes due to not having shown the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And if that is the case, then I think what we should look at is, what is the potential of that person? And can we help mentor, advocate, sponsor for them to be in that role and to grow in a role which I can see, if I connect my spider diagram, that they have potential to connect that weakness in their skill to get there.
I love that idea of, how we think about hiring and talent acquisition and recruiting, because especially in the age of AI where, you have to put your resume through certain things in order so that your resume goes to the top, and if there's 800 resumes for one job, How do you break through the clutter? The idea of like looking for potential is, I think, where we all are. It's believe it's possible. We all have so much inside us, and the opportunity to just unlock that, unleash that potential. And that's what I think the job is of the individual and the organization. I don't think it's just up to the organization, and I don't think it's just up to the individual. So thank you. Now we're going to go to another question, because we're having such a good time here. We're going to run out of time for all our questions, and this panel has lots of great ideas for everyone. So Julie, as the Chief People Officer of your organization, who should own the problem? Who should own the problem from the corporation standpoint of making sure more women and underrepresented groups get equally represented and get those opportunities?
I think it's everyone's problem, first and foremost. I think everyone can play a role in this, but the tone at the top is so critically important. And the leaders have to walk the walk and demonstrate not through words. Our values, for example, are empathy, humanity, love, and trust. And part of that is stepping in the shoes of others and being supportive of our women leaders. And if we don't have them just as words on a wall, we bring them to life. And as an illustration of that, we just had this graduation where all of our executive team and extended executive team attended the graduation, was part of the support system, is part of the programmatic efforts that we're developing for our women leaders. So this is everyone's problem. And Addie, your mention about potential, if you aspire to do something, share it. Figure out the roadmap to get there. I think I'd encourage all of you to lean in and find that advocate, find that person that you trust, and they can look like you or then maybe they don't. But really communicate. If you know what you want to do, help them get you there, get the roadmap. And part of that is like learning agility and aspiration, but combining that with your potential, I think, is really, really important.
Oh, that's great.
And women often don't share. And I think that's, the confidence level, building that confidence is so critically important, and self-awareness is also really a vital quality around potential, to knowing, where your strengths and maybe where the areas of further growth could be.
Great, great. Okay, on to the next question. What do women and other underrepresented tech groups need in order to stay, advance, and grow within their companies? Because I will say that, so much time and energy gets into recruiting great people, but then what? And I see so many people who just, quote unquote, die on the vine. They just hit a roadblock and then they leave, or they just get stuck. So, Advish, let's turn to you first to talk about, what do they need in order for women and underrepresented groups to advance and stay and thrive?
I will take my own example. I think you need a support system. Obviously, you need organization to have program in place. But more importantly, what I've seen work and lesson learned from other organizations is that at the very beginning, after your onboarding, we need to assign you to a buddy system. So you're not out there trying to figure out for 6 months or a year who is who. So you have a buddy system in terms of a leader that kind of like take you under the wing and help you navigate the maze of that new workplace. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I believe, and I'm a big proponent of that, is we need ourselves to learn to advocate for ourselves. Right? The organization is going to do different things, but you are there. And as America said yesterday, you cannot run away when it gets hard. So we have the responsibility for ourselves to her point, announce to everybody, here's what I want to do. And now today we have AI. So you basically say, hey, ChatGPT or whatever Perplexity, whatever you use, I'm here in 10 years, in 5 years, I want to become a CTO. What are the ways, side way, left way, what are the ways that I could use within this company in order for me to get there? And then try to get there, in a very specific way. And learn to believe in yourself. I love what Addie just mentioned. It starts with believing that you are worth the effort. right? So when it gets hard, you don't give up. You don't say, okay, I'm going to go back to do marketing. Nothing to do with anybody that does marketing. But stay in the trenches, stay in, and then find the support system that you need.
Great. Rashmi, can you weigh in on this topic about what you need
really
to do?
important points. And I think, to Jackie's point as well, Julie's point as well, just to, keep learning as well. Just keep, understand where your aspirations are and how to tailor that learning path. But also, coming to people around you, coming back to your organization, as Julie said, which is, keeping them accountable for, well, I want to learn about this. How do I go and get the best learning path for this? How do I go and improve myself that way? I do also think that being able to think out of the box in terms of learning opportunities gives us people that you would never imagine. I'll give you an example from certainly from a previous organization that I've been in, but certainly one that I very much want to bring to where I am today as well. Is, I had a bunch of labs globally. I gave the lab engineers a challenge. I said, go and make a one-day team building event with $100, go and get bits and pieces, Raspberry Pis, all sorts of sensors and kits, and then give me a task and model that people who know nothing about this can go and train an AI model for it and then go and deploy it themselves and hopefully take this stuff with them as well. So we did the team building exercise for my own personal team, and I said to them, the next day, learn well, because the next day, you guys and girls are the mentors for a girls' school that came in from local. And of course, now they're all very much focused on, I have to learn this well. And they did do it. And I included people from outside the team. I had people like EAs come in, people who you would think would never want to go and work in AI. Guess what? One of them that came in, who was a chief of staff from somewhere else, actually ended up being a CXO in an AI company today. That's actually well known, and I'm pretty proud of the fact that they came through that little team building exercise. Their eyes were opened, and they got to experience something else and thought, hang on, I can do this because it's been broken up for me, and I understand it.
That's so good. I want to be her.
Well, clearly we're all here to learn. We're voting with our feet by being at a conference where we can improve our skills, but this idea of continuous learning and creating opportunities for ourselves so that we can continue on our journey that we want to go on, that hopefully coincides with the journey that our corporation wants us to go on as well. Okay, let's go on to the next question, which is, the specific programs that your organization has implemented in order to really move the needle to enable more individuals to thrive and rise. So who wants to tackle that first?
I'm happy to tackle it. So one of the things that I think, to tie it back to your last question, Addie, around is building psychological safety for everybody. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to thrive, and that's for all levels of diversity, diverse groups. So what we do, and we focus we call it our Aurora program, but that does focus on women at mid-level and early-level career stages. It's a 6-month program, and we invest heavily in that, as I mentioned previously. That gives them an opportunity to feel what it's like to be in the shoes of other peers. They develop their leadership style and also have that psychological safety in cohort-based learning groups over the 6-month period and their 6-month journey. So that's one mechanism. Another thing that we do, we were not at the scale to have ERGs, so we have RIDE, which is reacHIRE for Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity. And that is our program that we're focused on developing diverse groups within the communities that we reside in. It's the talent that we're attracting to the organization. And it's the culture that we're building internally. And part of that culture is continuous learning and growth. We believe in having a growth mindset. That's one of the core leadership capabilities at Rocket. And we have what we call free ride sessions, where we watch a TED Talk, and then we all sort of share It's invitation. If you want to be included, you can attend. It's voluntary. But what we've learned through that is that people that do feel psychologically safe through learning from other experiences of people in different ethnic groups or different genders, they are able to share their lived experiences. And some of the powerful moments of that is that, what is it like? I mean, has anyone thought about when you're the only one in the room? Mm-hmm. And I've been the only female in a room, but I know what it's like to be, I was the only white person in a room, and that was a very different experience, and I learned that really early in my development when I was 10 years old. And so walking in those shoes, that must be what Darlene, our CIO, who's the only black person on the executive team every day, she walks into the room, she's the only black woman there, and she's very much included in the conversation, but being able to step into the shoes of others is really important, and psychological safety I can't underscore enough.
Great. Advish, you want to talk a little bit about this?
I mean, there's so many different programs, but I think one that I really love is, as I mentioned earlier, the buddy system, but the reverse mentoring. Have you guys heard of reverse mentoring, where you have and I have a lot of young people in my home, but a lot of younger generation actually mentoring upstream so that they can understand what it's like to be a newcomer, what it's like to be in mid-career, because most people that senior leadership, they forgot what it likes to be 20, 25 years old and trying to be at your next first job and asking for that first promotion because you need that, an additional $10,000 more, but you don't know yet that everything's going to go to taxes. But you just want, you just want that promotion. So what is it like to feel like, being there? So I think that reverse mentoring I've seen work very well, and you can see that a lot of CTO or C-level actually excited to talk to that 30-year-old kid that actually tell them about how to use the different tools, the different apps, and everything else. So I see that work. And one other thing, as I mentioned, your self-advocacy in the system, working together as if you have another minority person in the room. Guess what? When we finish to talk about our hair, our shoes, let's talk about our project. So that if I'm in another room and Melissa is not there, I can say, hey, you know what Melissa is doing? She actually work on that chat project. And then that saves us 40%. So you become an amplifier for each other. You amplify each other and talk about the great things that are going on. So try to implement reverse mentoring. Try to find another buddy system where you're sharing ideas so that whenever you know somewhere, guess what? Somebody else is there talking on your behalf.
I love that amplification.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I also think that if there's something that you don't see that you wish was there, that's your great opportunity to be a leader and stand up and make it happen. And no one's going to stop you. And I believe that you shouldn't wait for the VP of engineering or the HR department or somebody to put the program or the supports in place that you need. If you have an idea and you don't see it, make it happen or try to make it happen. And I think that companies are always looking for ways to do better, and they can't be everywhere at every time. So you might just be that person that makes the change that impacts hundreds, if not thousands of other people because you came up with the idea and then took the initiative to do it. And then, by the way, you'll get that halo of visibility to help yourself move in the organization.
And Addie, that's a really important point because I've seen our women's network is almost an organism on itself, and it's become one of those that creates its own momentum. But it also has this. It's brought other people from the organization in, so it's driven this virtual cycle in terms of the events that it does, the sort of guidelines that it gives, the talks and the presentations it brings in. So I think those sorts of things are also very important.
Yeah. I just want to tuck something in here about Athena Health. So if Bela was here, she would share this, that they took a step back, and she's the VP of engineering there. They took a step back to say, what does our data look like? Going back to, Rashma, your thought about numbers, let's look at the numbers. And they were losing women at their senior engineer cohort, and they had fewer women making it to lead and principal, engineer, and manager, and senior manager positions. They really took the Band-Aid off and said, oh my God, look at the numbers. We're losing the very people that we worked so hard to find. And they had very few women in leadership and director roles. So they did a host of things. And they're a smaller company too. So, they didn't have the opportunity to build a huge, women's ERG, but they decided to create women's groups within all their teams in different parts of the world, so that they were more intimate with each other. They've done back-to-work programs. They've done leadership development programs. They're investing and putting their money where their mouth is to make the change now that they've seen the numbers. And I think that's really impressive. So just wanted to share that. Okay, so we are moving right along here. So our last question, before we want to open it up for any Q&A that folks have. What challenges, best practices, and learnings have come about all the things and all the activities for you personally, as well as what you've seen in your companies that you've been in through your careers?
So,
Rashmi.
So I'm work in progress, of course, and I think this is we call this the softer side of management and the softer skills. I actually think this is the harder part, and the quicker we start understanding that this is where we need to put our bulk of our education and training for managers and give them support as well, I think the quicker we'll be able to solve this. I've recently, I've got I'm so looking forward to reading Edwige's book, by the way. But I also got a pre-read on a book that Jen Kochen is publishing in terms of the imposter syndrome. And I know it's been plentiful written about, but she's written about it as in how to use it as a superpower. Now, I'm only up to halfway through the book on this review, but I've already learned things such as the definition of imposter syndrome and the fact that everybody, not just women and non-binary, everybody suffers from it, even though some people may deal with it in different ways. But also the symptoms, and I think as reading these chapters, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I thought I didn't suffer from imposter syndrome, but here it is. It was, things that we obviously all know about, which is, not feeling adequate for where we are, but also things like overachievement, right? Are we staying those extra hours? Perfectionism, of course. Things like not being able to take praise, and how many of us have said, when somebody says job well done, and we'll say, oh, teamwork, right? Just undermining what we do and not recognizing it, and that leading to us, just not seeing what our worth and our capabilities really are, and obviously us trying to fit into the room and the norms and conformity of things not necessarily made for us as well. So putting all of that together, I think the bit that I've got to so far is that, if you've got limiting beliefs about yourself, it will create limiting actions in your life as well. So I'm looking forward to the second half, but I'm learning about it, and certainly I've already learned little bits about myself.
Love that. I love that. Does anybody else want to comment before we go into our Q&A?
I would probably say, obviously what you say is I want to build on that. As of lesson learned, you have to advocate for yourself. I don't want to say that enough. Nobody is coming to save us. We have to be part of our own rescue, right? We want the system to change. We want everything to change. Until that happens, we are in this system where we have to learn the ways. You have to learn the language. Just the same way that when you play a soccer game, right? You need to figure out, who's forward, who's in the back, and so we need to understand that we should not shy away from understanding the intricacies of the workplace so that we can advance. So please, whenever you feel like shrinking back, come up, head your head high, and know that you are worth fighting for. You are worth the fight. So stand up and then go for it, okay?
Okay. All right. So before we wrap up, we have a few minutes for questions. So I want to open it up and there's a mic. So I think that we have a plan here. And thank you so much, everyone, for your attention and your interest and your passion and for being here. Oh, and you can just go right up to the mic. And if anybody else wants to line up, that'd be great.
Race. I love it.
Wow.
It's going to take more than
Now we know it works.
Glad we left some time.
Hello, my name is Stacy, and I love how we've discussed around some of the aspects of senior leadership, but we didn't really touch on the very senior level ICs. I can tell you from my experience in over 15 years, almost every organization I jump into, I'm the highest ranking female IC, either in the company or the division. And we're not talking about small names, we're talking about household names. And so really, how do we build that for that senior tech leader? I will even also throw some extra analogs. I had a hard time getting an executive coach. Because they go, oh, you're female, oh, you're tech track, oh, you're leadership? Ooh. And had to cycle through literally 12, 15 direct interviews with career coaches and executive coaches. How do we then transform, as C-suite level leaders, that aspect of our organizations?
So I'm going to just do a self-serving thing here, because I feel like if you go into an organization, you're the most senior tech leader, you have the opportunity to make change and transformation. And if Bela was here from Athena Health, she was the VP of engineering. She was the highest level person, smaller company, not a Fortune 10, but she decided to take money out of her budget to create that pipeline, to build those leaders, to invest and put in the development, the coaching, and the support. And then she not only did that with her own budget at first, but she actually rallied the senior executive team to put budget from their different operating roles too. So you have this wonderful opportunity, if these are bigger companies, to go make that happen. And I am happy to talk to you about that.
May I also add 15 seconds? Stacey, congratulations. That's absolutely brilliant that you're in that space, and that's keep maximizing it. I would also say that senior technical people, if I was able to have a magic wand, I would change the ability to also be able to network, to bring people with them, have that idea, advocate for it, and get virtual cycles in a company. And I am sure that you actually probably have lots of that. Use it, and I think that is
exactly
direction.
And connect with us. We can talk.
We can help you.
Yes.
Well, luckily, I'm very identifiable with all of this clothing right now, so
we'll find you. Okay, next question.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for coming here. You're very busy and successful, and your time has value. So
can you speak up a little louder and get closer to the mic?
First, thank you for investing your time in us. A lot of the message that I've heard so far is about keep going at it. Don't give up. Keep moving forward. But to be honest, sometimes women in tech, in my division is mostly white men, it feels like death by 1,000 cuts. Mm-hmm. It's just accumulation of tiny frustrations that keep happening from different sources that you have to believe are not meant, but just exist. So my question to you is, do you have a practical advice, a little secrets that prevent that frustration to build up through almost anger, and then the next step is you just want to stop trying? So what is that advice that you give us?
So did you say your name?
Neila.
Neila. So I want to give you a practical advice. As you can see, I have a beautiful accent. When I get somewhere, everybody knows who I am. I don't even introduce myself in conference room because I can just say, oh, this is Edwige speaking because of my unique accent. So first, embrace all of you. Embrace all that you are, all of it. And understand that the change is not going to happen overnight. So for me, I have, my mantra is what is on my book. But my mantra is, first of all, anywhere I go, I'm like, guess what? They cannot miss me because I'm the only one that sound and look like me. I'm embracing that. And second, you have to find that mantra in yourself. For me, I say, I'm worth the effort. So you pick whatever gets you that bosom, get you stand up straight. But for me, I'm worth the effort. So every time something gets difficult, go at it every day. We can connect later, if you want. But it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would have done it. If it was easy, this room would have been, 20,000 people going at it. So don't give up, indeed. Don't give up, and then find your mantra, and then you can connect with me or any of us here.
I think also finding those allies. I've been the beneficiary of many male allies, and if you have someone that can help pave the way with you, that maybe is not the only one, that is also something that I would suggest, because don't go it alone. Like, don't go it alone. That's what my advice to myself in my career. Like, find that person that's going to be your right hand that's going to help you navigate through that.
Thank you. Let's get one more question.
Hi, my name is Trish, and I have a question about advocating for yourself, self-confidence. We do, in my organization, we do a lot of that work through our women's ERG. We're called Women's Ultimate Team, and it's amazing. But one of the things the feedback that we get after these sessions, these courses, is that their managers, who are normally, white males, don't know what to do with all of this new self-confidence and advocacy. So in some cases, I feel like we start preaching to the choir. So I wanted to know, in any of your organizations, do you have any sort of training for the people that may need to understand this and be able to do something with all of this, energy and advocacy that comes at them that they're not really used to?
I'm going to weigh in on this because I do think that the ERGs are wonderful, but if you're talking to yourselves, that doesn't help anything. And this conference, we're all here. It's so amazing to have 30,000 people all focused on the same thing here. But who's missing from this conversation? So if you do programming, that programming has to include managers, directors, senior leaders. When we run a program, typically the CEO of the organization comes to a graduation, and he often brings his senior leadership team with him, and they see, and managers speak on behalf of the individuals, and the individuals speak on behalf. So it's a visibility thing, it's a buy-in thing, we're on this journey together, not that we're off in this little room kind of fixing ourselves and then we're now stronger, more confident. What do you do with us? It has to be from both sides.
Right, and that's kind of my question is, it's not necessarily our senior leadership. Our senior leadership does it. It's that frozen middle leadership, and that they're not going to the ERG meetings, right, because they're voluntary. So is there any actual, official program that you can get to?
We'll talk after.
All right, thank you.
So before we go, I know that we're out of time, but I want to tell to everybody in the room, just for the next 2 hours, the book is on sale for 99 cents for the ebook, and then 20% off for the, what is that one called? The other book? Paperback, whatever the thing is. So for this audience, for the next 2 hours, you can get the book on Amazon. And then please connect with us. You want to have the conversation further, you want advice, you want feedback, we are here to support you. Use us as a resource.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. There's a Learn More with QR codes. There was a lot of people in line for questions. I know our panelists can stay outside after if you'd like to have your questions answered to individuals or all of us. And have a great conference, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Can we give them another round of applause?
Thank you so much for coming.